We'll go right to questions. T. Sergeant.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Doing well. Hey, guys, let me thank you first before we go to your questions. I appreciate you getting on. I know it's been a little bit since we talked, so I'll try to answer anything you have, and if I don't have an answer, I will tell you that as well. So go ahead, Sergeant.
Greg, can you, two-part question. Can you tell us the health of your team, the general health of your team right now? And then the second part, can you tell us your reaction when the Big Ten voted to postpone the fall season?
Okay, the first question, the general health of our team. We had, I got to go back and check the number. There's 30 or 31 total cases by the end. They're all doing well. We have two guys that are left in quarantine, and they finish that soon. So again, we don't know what we don't know, right? We've done everything we can medically to make sure that they're safe, and they all seem to be feeling well. We had a lot, of those 30, probably half of them were asymptomatic, so they never felt anything. They just tested positive. The other half had symptoms, and that's a hard line to say, right? Like people, I'd get people in the pro if mild symptoms, extreme. That's hard to say. I don't think we had anybody that was super extreme. I think what you'd say is the worst of our guys was a pretty bad flu, sweat through the sheets, that kind of stuff. So certainly other issues are checked by our medical staff. And it gives me an opportunity. I just have to tip my hat to our medical staff, our chief medical officer, Dr. Josh Bouchard. He and his team, Jay Kristofiak and Dr. Womack, those guys were incredible. I mean, literally tireless. I speak to them 3, 4, 5 times a day once things kind of got bad. And I thought were just incredible in their work ethic. And they do other things than just take care of our team. I know that. So they 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, 6 in the morning, it didn't matter. They were available and helping. And same thing with our training staff. Dave McCune, who many of you know from when we were here last time, and Dan Tochi, those two guys. And their staff, Jan Bruin and Anthony Massaraca and Joe Roth, those 5 guys, you talk about grinding and working and round the clock, really. And then someone really well, Will Gilson. Will kind of takes the brunt of everything in the program, right? He's the go-to guy to make sure everything's on schedule and working right. And you can imagine the logistics necessary to have quarantine guys, to have the guys that have tested negative, where they live, how the food gets delivered, all that stuff. I mean, it's a major undertaking with all the people. So I can't thank them enough. I know our players are grateful to them, as I am. And I'm confident that we're doing well medically, Keith. And when we return, I look forward to a lot more of those guys being able to go. One of the things that happen is that we do a full cardiac workup on those guys when they test positive. So that is a lengthy process as far as all the tests that are done and getting them read. So again, my thanks to our medical staff for arranging all of those tests. So, some of them are pretty sophisticated tests. So I think we're in good shape. But as you know, the virus is still very strong, still very prevalent in our state, and we just have to do a great job of continuing to battle it when we do get back together. Second part of your question, Keith, I wanted to remind you of it. It's been a long time since you asked it.
Yeah, just your general reaction when the Big Ten voted to postpone the fall season.
Yeah, that's a good question. All along you kind of see the ebbs and flows, and I tried not to speculate because I think one thing that this virus taught us a lot of things, right? But a lot of great teaching moments for our football team and for our coaching staff and for yours truly. But it really reinforced my belief in that to speculate is a waste of time because this thing was day to day, right? You didn't know. If you would have said to me right before we had the outbreak, we had 4 positive tests in 6 weeks. We were doing a really, really good job as a program. And guys were going along. JB was training them, and they were doing the things that the protocols needed. But we were getting stronger. We were getting faster. I said, this is much like a real productive summer. And then, it's like getting hit with a 2x4 when all the cases happen. So I didn't really speculate where it was going. So when it happened, it wasn't a surprise or not a surprise. It was just, we had alternative plans in place. And literally when I got the final, okay, it's postponed, I was sitting with Jay Butler in my office. Okay, if it gets pushed back to the 26th, let's start talking scenarios. It gets pushed back to 26. How are we going to train this team? And it's really complicated when you're moving the start date, how you physically handle your team, right? Because what got all the attention was over the course of the summer, the 30 some odd positives. But you got to remember that left us with 100 negatives, guys that are training, guys that are doing it. And how long can they keep it up at the level you want them to keep it up? So Jay and I were meeting on that when I got the word, and literally I hung up the phone and said, all right, forget the 26th, forget today. Now we got to talk about what are we going to do going forward when we gather everybody back. So it's that much. When I say it's day to day, and we just need to have, contingency plans. That's what I spent most of my time doing this summer, is dealing with the here and now and developing contingency plans. So if that struck, that we had a direction and it wasn't trying to figure everything out in the 11 at night. So I think our staff did as well as they could dealing with it. I think our players, again, I talk to our players all the time about the fact that you don't control what happens to you in life. I mean, I do think there's somewhat, you can have an input on that, right? But there's going to be adversity that comes your way that no matter what you do, it's coming your way. And now the question is, how do you handle it? And I thought our guys handled it very well. I think our staff handled it well. And you got to remember, there's a ritual to starting training camp. And as a football player, you do a couple things before you start training camp. If you have a girlfriend, you go see your girl, say goodbye because you're not going to see her for a long time. You see your family, have dinner with your family, get some snacks ready for the room, some stuff, and then you head off to camp with your duffel bag. And it's a mindset. We never were able to get that mindset because, as you remember, we had to quarantine our team well before training camp. So now they're in quarantined and they can't do those things. I felt awful. I really did. I felt bad for the players. And my hat's off to them because they just kept chopping through it. They didn't moan and groan. This is the hand we were dealt. And I thought our coaches did a good job of continually explaining to them this is a life lesson, right? Because this is going to happen. You're going to get dealt tough cards in life. You got to play them, right? Too bad. You got the 5 of clubs. Figure out how to play it. And I thought our guys did a good job with that. So long answer on both those questions, Keith, because that really, those were the two big issues, right? Is health-wise, how are we? And then the season's canceled or postponed. So that's where we are.
Go to Tom Canavan, Associated Press.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Doing well, Tom. How are you?
Good. My question is, you've got these guys thinking about a season, and I mean, it's like you're getting ready for a party, and then the party's called off. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think just what we talked about is, trying to teach them that there's going to be a lot of parties in life that get called off, quote unquote, right? Like you said. Things don't always go the way you want. So you share personal experiences with them. I have our coaches share experiences with them. Like, this is life, so get used to it, right? Now, maybe a pandemic isn't, because not many of us have seen that, right? But try to make use of it as a teaching moment, because that's what we're here to do, right? I know winning football games and championships, that's how we get judged. But at the end of the day, my purpose, not my goal, but my purpose is to get a bunch of young men prepared to go out into the real world and be good husbands and fathers and productive members of society, right? So when that's your purpose, these are really keen teaching moments. But I don't ever want anybody to think, well, that's it. No, my goal is to win the national championship at Rutgers. I've said that many times. I've told you guys that. That is not going to change. But I think when your goal and your purpose go hand hand in hand like ours do and like mine does, that gives you great opportunities no matter the circumstance.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ryan Dunleavy, your post.
Hey, Greg, thanks for doing this.
Hey, Ryan.
Question for you financially. Obviously, we've seen the numbers. It could be a $50 million loss for Rutgers Athletics. So my question is, what does that mean for you? Do you expect staff cuts or budget cuts, or how does that impact facility builds in the future? What not to your fault of your own, but you're going to have some financial fallout. What do you expect that to be?
We certainly have a financial responsibility, right? So it's like any, if you're in business and you have a really bad year, you got to tighten the belt. So we need to, every university, every athletic department is going to need to do that. I think that I know what I'm going to do. I know Pat and I have talked. We're going to continue on with what we did with our salaries, continue that on personally. That'll be my personal contribution. But I think overall we have to look at ways that we can be responsible. You need to run your program, right? If you're going to have a Big Ten football program, you need to run it. But I think sometimes you gotta look at things and say, what can we press pause on? What can we kind of move very, very methodically and figure out the best way to do? And that's what I'll do. I think, certainly I'm a hard-charging guy, but I also understand reality. And we'll make sure, I know with Pat and myself and Pikes and Vivian, we all have big jobs to do here in leading those sports and Pat over our whole department. So we're all doing our best to help make sure that we can keep this thing. What you got to bank on is that when we get back to playing eventually, and we have great, best-in-class TV deals, rights deals, and for our institution, pretty soon, in the next few years, we're going to come into a bigger share of it, right, which that'll help. So long-term we'll be fine, but we got to find a way to really fight through this, and collectively we will.
Go to Chris Nowalski, Rivals.
Hey, Coach. Now that the season is now in the spring, how do you think it will go, and what's your reaction to that?
Again, I'm really not going to get into speculating spring, winter. When they know when we're going to play, for sure, I'm going to set our team's mindset on that. Until then, we're going to train. Our guys are coming back at the end of the month. We're going to get back to it, back to work. They start school, right? And we'll just take it day by day. And there's certain things that I know we can do whenever the season starts that are appropriate. And there's other things that we'll have to ramp up once we know when season starts, an appropriate time away from the season. That's what we kept trying to do even in this scenario. Is the start date was a moving target, and we just had to have enough plans, contingency plans, that when we knew the date, we could make the move. And we'll continue to do that.
Thank you.
James Cranch, NJ.com.
Greg, I know it's very fluid, but as of now, several teams in the region that you might recruit against are going to play as of now. Is that a concern from you from an exposure standpoint, a transfer portal standpoint, that guys might try to leave and go play elsewhere? And I guess just the overall recruiting, that they can say their programs are on the field while yours may not be.
I don't really see that, James. I mean, what I think is our program is unique, and you either want to be part of it or you don't. And that's good. I like that. It's always been that way. The guys that we connect with, the guys that are people that we want in the program, I think they come to Rutgers because we are who we are. And if not playing is the reason that you wouldn't come, then it probably weren't going to last very long anyway here. The concept of poaching, guys coming in and poaching players from our team, again, we talk openly and honestly with our guys. If you hear, what I'd like always to hear from our players is our coaches are real with us. They keep it real. And we tell them exactly where they stand. We tell them, I don't shy away from any of those subjects. And I tell them, I say, you guys that are the best players on the team, people are going to reach out. They're not allowed to legally, but you're going to have intermediaries. There's going to be people that try to get just what you're part of. And if this is what you want to be part of, don't even go there, right? If it's not, then I understand. But I think we're at a point where our players understand who we are now. It's been very disjointed, as you can imagine, right? You start with them in December. They go away for Christmas break. You get them back for a couple months. Then you lose them for 3 months. Then you get them back. It's on again, off again. But I think what we've been able to do is work really hard at developing the relationships with our current team and developing relationships with our recruits. We have 32 guys, that we signed in that first class that are we're very, very pleased with. And they're our kind of guys. We have another bunch that we're going to, in the class of 21 that are committed. So we're real excited about it, the recruiting, and we think we got the right guys for Rutgers.
Chris Eisman, Gannett.
Hey, Greg, thanks for doing this. When you officially returned in December, I imagine that this is about the furthest thing that you could have expected. How challenging has this been for you personally to have to navigate this, and how difficult has it been?
I don't want to downplay this because two things. Number one, let's keep it real here and keep it in perspective. There's over 160,000 people who have passed away. There's people that have had, that are right now fighting for their life, that are sick, so for what we went through, really, I love to coach football and the players love to play football, but, we're still here and we're going to come back and we're going to be fine, right? So, a lot of people lost loved ones that they're not going to be with them. So I've tried to share that with our players as well. Let's keep this all in perspective. It's adversity, sure, because it's not what we're used to and it's not what we thought was going to happen. But in the grand scheme of things, we got it pretty good. And I think our guys, they do appreciate that. But I think you got to point it out to them, right? Because the world, unfortunately, all they want to talk about is how you can't play the world. Come on. It's not what we wanted, none of us, but we're going to be fine.
Steve Politi, Edge.com.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Doing well, Steve. How are you?
Good, thanks. Turn on the camera so you can really appreciate the experience of my bald head. Makes this much better, I'm sure. Hey, I know you just have to, this just happened, but you have now 4 or 5 months where you might be able to map a course for the program that you wouldn't have seen before. I'm just curious if you've given thought to how you're going to use that and what, if you can just take me through how that time, can be applied productively to improve things.
Well, yeah, I've given it, as you can imagine, that's about all I've been thinking about, right? Other than our players getting safely home where they go, wherever home is, or if they stayed here. But my mind is racing constantly because whenever you have this is going to make you happy and not happy. Whenever you have a unique situation, you have an opportunity, right? But you really got to think. And you really got to think, I talk to our staff all the time. We can't be 180 thinkers, 180 degrees, just looking at it this way. You got to walk all the way around 360 and look at every angle. And what is the best thing for Rutgers? Now, I'm not going to share a lot right now because I really don't, I don't want to give away because we are going to find competitive advantages in this. We have to, right? We have ground to close, and there's a news flash. We have ground to close in the Big Ten against the people that we're going to have to eventually play and win against. So I've given a lot of thought. I will continue to give it a lot of thought. Our staff, I've asked our staff, I don't like to use the catchphrase, but it fits on this one, right? Think outside the box. How can this become something that we can utilize for us to get better and to gain some ground on the competition? Because it's no mystery that we're behind, and that's going to be our mission. And our players are really, when they got over the disappointment not playing, I think as a football player or anyone really, you need to readjust your goals, right? And that's what we tried to do for our players before they left. I wanted them to get a rest because, like I said, we didn't start traditional training camp. We started in a miserable way. So I wanted them to get away from here, stay safe, but relax a little bit, and then come back just chomping at the bit, ready to go and improve as football players, improve their football IQ. We start school, improve as students. Although we had the best semester, in my whole time as the head coach, the first time this past semester was the best academically we had done ever. So I was really proud of the guys for that. So we have a lot going forward. And, the thing that gets tricky, again, in the speculatory way is right now we're supposed to have 20 hours when we get back, 20 hours a week with the players. If that holds, I'm really excited about the things we can do and with them and the improvements we can make. And whether it's 4 months, 6 months, or 13 months, it really, we just got to keep moving the target. But I know every single day we have to get better. That's a constant. And our guys know that. And that's, when you hear us say chop, that's really what it's about. It's every day getting up and doing it. Sometimes it's not easy, but you got to do it every day.
Got Bobby Darren, 24/7.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering what the communication with the players' parents were like through all this, and when they had learned that the season will be canceled. I know there's a lot of concern. How have you kind of handled that aspect of this?
Well, another thing that the virus has taught me is how to use all this, WebEx and Zoom and all this technology that I wasn't very good at. I'm not saying I'm, Mr. Technology, don't get me wrong, but I certainly understand it a lot better. So we've had several meetings, I, the staff, and the parents, because as a parent, right, anybody who has children knows there's nothing more dear to your heart. And I tried to keep them fully up to speed with what was happening in the program. And early on, it was all policies and procedures. A little bit into it, hey, we had a couple of hiccups, but we're doing great. And then when we got hit with the haymaker, then it was, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. We're going to make sure your sons are safe. And we're going to have to wait through this thing. I mean, it was really hard on our players. Quarantine as an 18 to 22-year-old kid is not an easy thing, especially when you're used to being active and training. And so, but we kept them all in the loop. They were incredibly supportive and really just great questions and questions that sometimes I'd get off the call and I'd have 4 things that, we got to think about doing this just from them. And then later on, they'd send follow-up emails. So truly, the old saying, it takes a village. Well, it's their kids, and we're the village. And I think everybody worked together to help the young men learn and get through it safely. I can't express enough, though, as tough as it was and is going to be, tremendous teaching moment for our guys, continually, right? And like I said, I love that part of what I do.
It's time for a couple more. We'll go to Len Robbins.
Hey, Greg, good to see you again.
Good, Lenny.
I heard you loud and clear before about keeping perspective, but just looking at it through the football lens for a moment, you've already said that there's a lot of work to be done, right? Do you think this hurts a program that's trying to get on track more than it does an established program, or not?
Good question, Len. I think it presents unique challenges. And I've been in programs where we were on the top, and I've been in programs in the middle, and I've been in programs at the bottom. And I know this: we're going to use it to our advantage. We're not going to be at the bottom of the level. We got to get to work. When these guys come back, we have a great opportunity ahead of us, and I know our guys are excited about it. We have to make sure that every step of the way that we stay safe, and that's been my number one priority since spring break. When they didn't return, is their safety first and their family's safety and our coaches and staff and their families. And then after that, everything else is secondary. And I think that's where relative comes in. I want to win more than anybody. I think you know that. Lack of me being a lack of a competitor, I don't think has ever been said, right? But when it comes to this stuff, I just believe that it's bigger. It's bigger than that. So I have a hard time separating and say, we certainly have a plan how we're going to get better. And as soon as we pivoted that day when the season was postponed, I said, JD and his get guys to figure out one thing, another thing. and we started thinking about how they were going to bring me ideas that would give us the best chance to improve, and that's what we're doing. That's why I said it's unique to us. I'm excited to coach this team, however it is, whether it's training or practices or eventually games. Like I said when I came back, I know it's going to be a process, and that's okay. But I'd like to accelerate the process as much as we can.
Thanks, Greg. Stay safe.
Thanks. You too, Glenn.
Final question, we'll go to Richie Schneider.
Hey, Greg. So if I read this correct, it looks like the Big Ten is going to allow 20-hour practice weeks. What would that look like for you guys?
Well, like I said to Steve, I'm not going to get into the real specifics because I kind of think we're going to do some things that are creative. But you know the time limitation. You know they start school. So it would be, the feel of it would be, I don't know if it would be spring practice, like, we don't have pads or we don't have any of that stuff, but we're gonna get better at our football, both in the classroom and on the field, and we're gonna get them started in classes, and really get off to a great start that way. So other than that, I think we're gonna learn a lot as we continue to move forward. Because we certainly have learned a lot. I looked at it, we're about 5 months from when they pulled the basketball team off the court. And that's kind of the day we all remember, when our basketball team was ready to go out and play that game. So who knows where we'll be 5 months from now, right? Because there's no way, back then we thought we'd be here. Maybe some of you did, I didn't. So I'm really just kind of, like I said, creating contingency plans, but knowing that that good is going to come out of this, because there's a lot of bad that has come out of it, and a lot of people have suffered greatly. But we're going to find some good. Always, I've always said this: disguised in adversity, there's always opportunity, and we're going to find it. So, guys, I appreciate you coming on, and if you need anything, just let Haas know. But one of these days we'll have a post-game press conference. Hopefully it's a fun one with everyone smiling, right? Because I don't want Sarges and political scowls up in the room. I like to see you smile. And Crash, I don't know what your face is like on game day. I got to figure that out. Lenny, I know he sits in the back. Either way, he just has his look at me like, that's all you got? So we'll see what we do. All right, thanks. Be safe, guys.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for
Have a good
everyone.
one, everyone.
Take care.